Welcome to the Scottish Property Podcast. This is a show where we aim to educate, inspire and entertain through real life stories and interviews from people in the Scottish property community.
As always, thanks for listening and give us a follow on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Remember to join us at our monthly networking events on the first Wednesday of every month. Tickets are available on our website. So without further ado, we'll just cut straight into this week's podcast. Eoin Baillie, how you doing? Exo Property, isn't it?
It is Exo Property, yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Great to have you here in Dubai.
Yeah, welcome to Dubai.
I'm just amazed because you're the third guest we've had on now in this studio. Nobody's had a tan, right? It's the series of Scots in Dubai, so we're not expecting anybody totally tanned, right? Yeah. But obviously it must be like everybody's so busy working in the office and all this, doing deals. Is that, I take it you're not spending much time on the beach?
It's getting to that stage now where it almost gets too hot to even go outside, so it's kind of office to the gym, back home to the apartment, and that's kind of your day. The weekends, the odd time you get to go out and sunbathe, but it's kind of getting to that time where you can't actually spend a hell of a lot of time in the sun. Yeah. You end up doing your negotiations and your debriefs of the viewings inside the car with the aircon on because you're standing inside like vacant villas and properties that are red hot. So no one, everyone says that when I go home, is like, where's your tan? But I feel I'm doing not bad just now. Right, but it'll probably get worse over the next few months.
So that ramps up about, was it April, May, and then for a few months of the year it's just what, high 40s, isn't it?
It's carnage basically. It's usually what happens is you'll notice there's a really humid period, so it might be a week or so and everything's just soaking wet. After that it just accelerates so much. Obviously this kind of time last year we had those floods, you've probably seen it. And then when that lifted, it kind of went really, really warm after that. So we always can expect a period of humidity. And then off the back of that's when it really turns it up.
See those floods? That was mental. Did you see the TikTok videos? It was just guys abandoning like big Range Rovers and Porsches and all that. They were just floating about.
It was scary. It really was scary, to be honest. I know that sounds mad, but we were 23 floors up, just sitting in the balcony. Obviously couldn't go anywhere. We had actually just come back from South Africa 2 days before, and then this happened. So we were cabin fever, wanting to get out and about, and you were looking from where we first stayed at that point. You could look over basically like a motorway, 5-6 lanes, and it was literally like Rolls Royce Cullens bobbing about the water. Because people, like, I'm in a big car, I can go round the side of these guys, and it was like one would go, another one would stop, another one would stop again. So it was crazy.
Not
to be
like
quite
us
honest.
Scots, we used to deal with a bit of adverse weather and a bit of snow and all the rest of it. Do you know what I mean?
It was crazy though. It was like proper, like they said, 10 years worth of rain within the first, within a day's rainfall. So
nuts.
And the places here just weren't prepared for it. Drainage was full of sand, so it was all black backing up. Properties that had never been reinforced for waterproofing, you've got leaks coming in windows and roofs and things were just filling up.
Is that 2 years you've been out here now?
2.5 it works out to, so we're into our third year of real estate.
And obviously you originally, it was Kyle Black that connected us. Kyle's been on the podcast and you guys used to be business partners back in Glasgow. So talk to us a little bit about, just actually tell us a little bit about your backstory and, where you grew up and stuff like that, because we don't really know each other that well. So
exactly, it's a good introduction. So I grew up in Prestwick, kind of really nice seaside town. You don't know where it is. Really normal family, working class family. Kind of we grew up normally, me, my brother, my mum and dad. Really nice area. Never had any bother down in Prestwick. Probably one of my favourite places in the world still. I can see myself back there at some point. And then from there, just normal schooling. Was never academically the most clever, middle of the class for everything, and didn't really enjoy school that much. Similar story to Kyle, just wanted to play football and mess about in techie, woodwork, all of that kind of stuff. So my original plan was to always kind of do what my brother done. He decided he was going to go to the Royal Navy. So this is a great story between all my pals. They love this story. So I kind of said to my mum and dad, I'm just going to copy what Callum does. Callum, my big brother. And he was going down to the Navy, and luckily one of our uncles was the recruitment officer for the full of Scotland. So he got me an interview, 16 years old, went and done my 4-day course, which was fine, but I could hardly swim. So that's a bit of an issue when you're going to the Navy.
What sort of thing are you looking at doing in the Navy though?
Marine engineering.
Right.
Whatever Callum was doing. I didn't give it much thought, to be honest. So I followed in his footsteps, and we got a start date, and luckily, unluckily, whatever way you look at it, we both started our 10-week course on the same day, which is quite unique. Usually they split you up. So I think my uncle had something to do with that. So it was all hugs and tears and kisses at the airport when my mum's 2 boys, 16 and 19, were leaving home.
Where were you going at that point?
Raleigh, so Plymouth. So you're going down there to sign on for 10 weeks, and always liked to look after myself. Then I had always liked my hair and stuff.
What age were you at this point?
16, 17.
Aye.
So again, my biggest fear was getting my head shaved, obviously, because I didn't want to look stupid, because I love having my hair all done and all that stuff. So goes all the way down there, checks in. First night we get into the 2 rooms, and I was always thinking, this is easy, I'm going to be with Callum. They split us up straight away.
Right.
So he's in one dorm, I'm in the other, and it's like 40 guys, all ages, rolling about, farting, laughing.
And you're only 16, 17, so you're still a kid. Do you know what I mean?
It was hellish, honestly. So that first full night, I think I sat in the toilet the majority of the night, because I just didn't want to be in this space, and it was a big reality check. So you go down in the morning, you sign a thing called a oath of allegiance to the Queen, that you're going to commit to 10 weeks in this course. And the guy's like, does anyone want to leave? And I'm like, me, I'm out of here straight away.
Was it for you? Mind you, I mean, you didn't know at that age,
I didn't plan in it. Do you know what I mean? It was like,
so I'll go with the flow here. So that's why you get the piss up to you now. You're fast.
So and at the end of it, so I was like, right, I'm going to leave. He put me in front of my brother. He's like, you've got a really good, unique opportunity. I'm like, I'm going to ruin his life, because he's done all the Magaloofs, his aunties, all those boys things. I've never done any of that because of the age that I'd went at. So I was like, I've got a lot of life to go and live. So I said to the guy, I'm leaving. He's like, right, go and pack your case. Went back down and marched me up to the gate in the middle of Plymouth. He's like, right, see you later. 16-year-old boy, no phone. I was like, what do I do now? So I was just standing at this gate.
You're in the phone box.
That was it.
On your mum. Reverse charges.
I had to flag a bus down and take me into Plymouth Centre, phone my granny and get her to put money in my bank card, and then get a train all the way back up the road. So that was a big bit of life experience for me. But that was a kind of wake up call at that point, 16. I thought I had so much more life to live than going and signing on for 4 years, 4 year minimum service, isn't it? So probably the best decision I've made, to be honest.
So what did you do after that? And you get back to Prestwick, back home?
Back in with my mum and dad, yeah. And
went to Magaluf.
I went to Magaluf a few times. No, I got a job in home base, believe it or not.
Right.
2 hours on a Saturday, 2 hours on a Sunday.
Shut down now.
It's gone.
I think they just went into administration there recently.
And then it was a Saturday and a Sunday, 2 till 4 p.m. I don't think I'd done any shift not hungover. Every single shift was hungover. So from there, it was kind of back to plan B or plan A in my instance, because I didn't really have a plan A. So this was plan A, and it was to get an apprenticeship. So started an apprenticeship with Arnold Clark Mechanics, fitting tyres, basically all the first year stuff. And then always kind of wanted to progress. I don't know when something clicked in my mind that I always wanted more. I always wanted to click on. And I then restarted an apprenticeship with Scottish Gas. I seen that as a much better career. So done that apprenticeship, was there for 9 years with Scottish Gas.
Was that as an engineer?
Gas engineer on the tools, domestic, so the people that come and service and repair your boilers. Loved that, and kind of progressed through that up to kind of team leader roles, if you can call it that. I actually ended up in the academy teaching apprentices. So I've always kind of had that want to help people and be in front of people and take classes. I don't mind speaking in front of classes and educating people and all that stuff. So probably one of the youngest ever trainers that was to work for
What
them.
age were you then, roughly?
So what would that be? It'd be kind of 7-8 years later, so maybe 24,
Right.
24, 25.
And you're standing up in groups of people and delivering like training and stuff like that?
Full courses, building modules and
good.
kind of training them how to basically, they were coming from other companies that weren't as in depth as a big corporate company like Scottish Gas, and basically teaching them how to rip things to bits. And from that I gained a lot of kind of problem solving skills, solutional skills, as in how to deal with, break things down and repair them in every aspect of life. And probably the main thing that I learned from that is dealing with people, as in being in front of a customer in their house in the middle of winter and saying, by the way, you're not going to have heating for 3 days. You need to understand how to deliver it, how to speak to people, how to understand that they're going to be aggressive with you, and how to kind of come up with solutions for that. And to now, I think that's one of the best one of the best skills that I've learned when it comes to dealing with clients when they're buying properties. I know that sounds crazy, but we'll talk about it a bit later on. And in terms of, that was my first introduction to sales as such, because we were on a commission that was £15 per lead, that you got a boiler quote for each boiler that you went to. So obviously I'm doing it to everyone. I'm trying to get as many as I can, whether it was 2 years old or 20 years old. So we were measured to get as many leads to see if they could convert, and that was my first introduction to sales.
No wonder it's £4,000 a boiler for Scottish Gas, man. You guys are
getting 15 quid. So that was my first kind of introduction to sales.
And you felt like you felt like you were good at it.
Aye, and
I was always getting success. You were getting good
coin from that. Yeah, I was always kind of one of the ones with the most leads, shall we say.
And again, that just it all goes down to people skills and just like building relationships. And we had Callum White on the podcast there, and he was talking about it as well. It's like, some of the young guys come out and it's like, people don't want to be showing around the property and going, right, this is the bathroom, this is the living room. It is literally about getting in there, tapping into some sort of conversation where you're just building that connection with somebody, aren't you? So that was good practice, wasn't it? Getting into people's homes, isn't it?
One thing they done, I can't remember what the name of the test is, but you basically identify clients or customers, as it was then, as one of 4 things. I think it's like creator, reflector, connector, and controller. So you actually understand their psychological personality. So when you're dealing with someone, when you're going to go in and say, here's the boiler, go and fix it, or they take you around and show you all the radiators and all that kind of stuff, you start to understand people's personality. I can relay that to when I'm going to viewings, and I think it's so important. Like, someone marches into a villa and they're straight through, you don't need to take them on a tour. That's the kind of ones where I'll maybe stand out the back garden and say, you go and plan where your bed's going to go, where the couch is going to fit, because there's nothing worse. You've seen it in a car showroom all the time. You're looking at a car, the guy's over the top of you. You want to start making your choices, whether it's going to work for you. I relate that to property as well when I'm doing viewings, because it's a massive emotional investment for people. So if we, young Scottish guy off the plane standing over this millionaire trying to make a decision, you're probably going to annoy them. So that's probably the main skill that I've taken that's transferable from that industry.
What was the ending point to your career in Scotland then, and then getting out here?
Coming over here, well, actually, I had an injury when I was working at Scottish Gas, so I took a year off. Me and Kyle obviously started the company together. Right. He started it and I came in to do the marketing side of it. And
this was the investors, dealing with investors, sourcing property deals?
Yeah, off-market properties. So I was more...
How did you meet Kyle again?
Through my missus and his ex were really good pals.
Right.
So we kind of he was starting the company, wasn't the best at social media, he'll openly admit that to you initially, but he's amazing now. So he came to me and said, look, I've started this company, do you want to jump on board with it? And at that point I had just launched a thing called Team Optimise, which was a social media marketing company.
And had you left Scottish Gas by that point then?
No, I was still doing it.
Doing the marketing company on the side?
So what I'd done was a bit of a niche that a lot of people have jumped on now, and I was going around builders, painters, joiners and phoning them and saying, by the way, I know how busy you are, I know how much you don't know about social media. Pay me £100 a week and I'll post once a week for you. Over the £100 a month and I'll post once a week for you.
So is this when your kind of entrepreneurial kind of
started
kicked in then?
Yeah, that's kind of where it sparked from. Again, I don't know where I get it from. I don't know. It's not. I can't relate it to anyone that I've been that close to, or my family or anything like that. They're all kind of salaried jobs. So I don't know where it came from, but that's probably when it started.
Something in your life at the time that maybe saw the opportunity, or saw the fact that, or the...
Maybe my missus. She started. She quit a kind of 9-to-5 job and opened up a nail company for herself doing nails. So maybe leaning on her and seeing her journey from the point of going and doing a training course similar to what Kyle done with the Paul McFadden one. Maybe something like that sparked it. Either that or just want more. I think when there's opportunity out there to go and get more for yourself. And I always kind of looked at it as social media. We've grown up with it in my generation from start to finish. We were the first ones to have it. So I think if you can use that against people that don't have those skill sets, you can make a fortune. And it's one regret I've got is not continuing that on, that Team Optimise, that social media marketing company, because when you learn more about it, you can offload that. You don't physically need to be doing the work.
You can systemize that and let it run.
Exactly. And you can
how does that somebody who's got a full-time job, going around, selling boilers and stuff like that, go to starting up a marketing, social media marketing, agency? Were you just into social media, or did you start like researching it on YouTube or stuff like that, or how?
Bit of everything. It's, how much information is readily available now. I think I always relate this back. I love graphic design. I still love graphic design. I think again that's something that helps me with this industry that we're in now. I always remember creating Walkman. Remember the Sony Ericsson Walkman? See the skins you used to be able to make? I used to sit and make them for people. And also like Bebo skins. I used to sit and make them so everyone would have a customised one.
Wait, you're showing your age now. What age are you, by the way?
31.
Oh, no, that old.
So,
but
I thought Bebo was like fucking 20 years ago.
I can't remember.
We're talking about Bebo, the social media. And then before that was like MySpace or something like that. And then before that was Friends Reunited. That was the first one.
You've lost me now.
That was
but that was always my kind of graphic design, Adobe Photoshop, downloading cracked versions of that and sitting playing about with it for hours and hours. And I think that's where...
So that's a wee passion of yours, and then you built that and then thought, I'll start doing this. So did you have any success with that then, or was it kind of just to the point where you were just taking on a few clients? Or?
It was getting to the point where it was making me a side earner. I shouldn't say this, but I was never paying any sort of money towards it in terms of the legal side of it, but it was always a side earner in terms of Scottish Gas. And then when Kyle came along and offered me a position within the company to grow it together, I parked that completely. fully focused on BLK together. And that's what I was saying. I had an injury while I was working at Scottish Gas, so I had nearly a year off. And that's when together we really scaled the company from where it was when Kyle was working in it and I was still working full time. He was working full time in BLK. We didn't ever really have an opportunity for us to both go at it. So latterly in that journey, when I was off from Scottish Gas, still getting a full time salary, we had a chance to work on it together.
What was your injury?
The hernia operation.
Oh, right, okay.
We shouldn't have been off for a year, but I made it. I made it last a year with a full time salary.
You got to do what you need to do.
Exactly. You need to play the game a bit.
You need to progress in life.
You're not going back to watch for Scottish Gas.
That's me bagged. I shouldn't say that. That was the retirement plan. But no, that was the opportunity we had to scale it, and I think. Moving here, the original choice was we continue to do what we can. I'll do the online side of it, but this place consumes you so much. Like, see, trying to be present here, never mind in the UK, doing Zoom calls at 11 at night, just didn't work for us.
So what was your role within the Kyle partnership then? You were concentrating on the marketing side and things like that, the social media?
Everything, that side of it completely. Kyle was customer facing, I would call it, and I was on the back end, Facebooks, Instagrams, marketing, ads, all of that kind of stuff.
Right, so you're trying to do this and when your year off, your missus, she's got the nail company at this point?
Yeah.
So that's doing alright. And have you got any family at this point?
No.
Any kids? No.
We owned a house in Ayr. My uncle passed away and left his money, so we bought a house in Ayr when I was 23. Stayed in that for 3 or 4 years, and then during COVID, we decided that, well, Ellis decided that we were going to sell my house, so we decided that we were going to sell our house together. She wasn't working at the time, so she couldn't come on the mortgage because she was first finished in terms of COVID and the last one to go back because it's right touching people's fingers, obviously. And then we actually applied for a mortgage. We found a property that we loved, but we couldn't get a mortgage rate. We were actually going to end up paying like 7% in a mortgage. We were going to go ahead with it. I'm so glad that we didn't do that now because we'd probably have still been tied into it. So we sold the house. We went through with the sale because we made a good chunk on it from what we paid. And we moved in with her mum and dad in the south side. I think we spoke about this, that me moving from Prestwick to the south side might seem like a half an hour, 40-minute journey. If I hadn't have made that journey, I don't think I would have moved here. Because in like terms of Prestwick, I would have been there for the rest of my life quite happily. Do you know what I mean? And it works for a lot of people.
Why was that? Because it was like your network, your family, your friends.
Aye,
you would just.
I think it's such a comfortable life. You've got no stress, and it's kind of society's rules. At some point, I changed, and that didn't work for me. Whether it's you meet someone, you get married, you buy a dog. You have a baby, and that's kind of you. It didn't ever work for me, and it works for a lot of people, and I've got a lot of really good friends that it works for, and it's amazing. But for me, I always decided that I wanted to go and do more at some point. I don't know when that switch changed, and I think it was just moving 40 minutes up the road, which sounds a bit crazy because it's only just up the road. But that was what kind of spurred on us moving here. By moving in with her mum and dad for 18-24 months, we decided, you know what, we're gonna go and try it, because if we didn't do it then.
So if anybody needs to push
to get
they'll watch this, so it has nothing to do with it. They were amazing.
Okay, so fancy making £1,000 for sending a WhatsApp? Let's take a wee break to talk about referring sellers to John and Lewis at Prime Property Auctions. Me and Stephen have both done it, and it couldn't be easier. If you know someone selling a property, the guys will pay you £1,000 or 1% of the sale price, whatever's higher, just for passing their details. Doesn't matter if the seller is already with an estate agent or not, just drop the guys a message and they'll do everything from the first call to getting the property sold. Know someone who might be looking to sell or struggling to get a result with their agent? Go to the link in the show notes and send them a message now. Better those like early conversations though with you and the missus about potentially moving to Dubai, and how did Dubai come on the radar then? Like, did you have friends? Like,
it was kind of, she wanted to move to Spain. I didn't want to move to Spain because my trade, obviously, the fallback would always be gas. So if you're going to go to Spain and don't speak Spanish, who are they going to pick to do a job? Are they going to pick a Spanish person that's rubbish at it? Are they going to pick an English person that's good at it? It's probably going to be the Spanish person. So
it's a language issue there, straight away.
I should probably learn Spanish. That would have been a solution.
It's going to take time, isn't it? And it's like,
so the next best option for the sunshine, and we kind of seen the odd thing online, and we had a couple of people that we knew here, not very friendly with, but a couple of people that we knew here. And we decided that, you know what, it's English speaking. it's a big change. But if we don't do it now, we'll probably never do it. You know, when kids can come along or whatever can happen very quickly.
But interestingly, you'd said you'd never been for a visit or no holiday.
Never at all. No.
And you made the decision. Let's just do it.
We
no ties,
No ties. That was it. We had obviously a lot of the stuff in storage from when we sold the house. We just started selling stuff off and keeping the best of the stuff that we could, and then we decided, you know what, we came over here with I think 14 suitcases. So when we got off at the other side, we needed a minivan to get us, and I always remember the day we were at the airport. Mums and dads were there to see us off, a few friends and family, and we're like taking stuff out of one case, putting it into the other.
That's a bit over your 25 kilo allowance, isn't it?
We had to go and buy another case. We'd already paid for another 4. It was carnage. But you'd think we'd actually just packed the house into suitcases. And not sold anything. 5
taxis at the other side trying to get the stuff in.
Full minibus, Emirates branded minibus taking us to the residence.
So you land here with your 14 suitcases, and have you got accommodation lined up in that? Or?
Aye, so I knew the company. I know the owner of the company, Grant, that I work for now. He's the owner of the company that I'm the director for.
So you knew him before moving out here?
I had my Zoom call meetings and
interviews. You had conversations with him then?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he helped me through the interview process. Not helped me through it, he took the interview.
Is he Scottish as well?
Scott, he's Motherwell, yeah.
Right, okay.
He's Motherwell.
And you knew him back from was it nightclub days or something?
Nightclub days, I used to run raves that we used to go to. So
where were the raves with you? What venues?
What's the place in Motherwell? Palace.
Right.
It's a Hamilton Palace.
That's Hamilton Palace.
And there was one in Motherwell. Can't remember what it was called.
Right. Okay.
So Loco it was called. It was a great laugh. Everyone used to go to that. Used to do boat parties and stuff down the Clyde. I know that doesn't sound as exotic as a boat party here, but
and he'd already been out here set up for a couple of years.
9.5 years.
All right. Okay.
So 9.5 years now. Sorry. So it would have been 7.5 at the time, or 7 years at the time.
And you'd still been keeping in touch, a few wee messages here and there.
So it's actually one of his good mates. Again, I knew from back. I hadn't spoke to Grant that much laterally before we came here. Spoke to him years and years ago back in the UK. His friend that I'm probably more closer with, he set everything up for us, so he put me in touch with Grant and organised everything. And when I was coming here, I was lined up to have a job straight away.
Which was a what?
Real estate rental broker. Straight off the plane.
That's leasing. Because I've just, from the limited knowledge I know about the Dubai market, you're either a real estate broker or you're a leasing broker.
Yeah.
Sales or a leasing. You do one or the other.
You kind of start a lot in the leasing side. I've had to get your experience, your network before going into the sales.
Yeah, I think that's the most sensible thing to do. Some people come straight in and do sales. Like I could have done it. A lot of people come here with 5-10 grand and they need to start getting cash flow quickly. We'd obviously sold a house, so we came with a good bit more than that. But obviously we were both going into commission only roles because she was going into do nails, so none of us had a salary. So that first 10 weeks that we had booked an Airbnb for, we were burning through some amount of money, getting to the point where this is worrying, because it's like everything's out.
When did you get your first commission then? How long did it take?
Well, actually, I done it within 3 days, and that sounds crazy, but the girl that I get paired up to work with basically dragged me through it. I did not know what was happening. She was just like, you're doing this, you're doing that, and it wasn't a lot of money. It was like 600 quid was the first, and then you see all these glamorous numbers, that sounds like nothing.
Aye.
And then it was actually the worst thing that happened to me, I think, doing that deal within 3 days. And what I mean by that is I thought it was going to be easy from there on in. I thought it was going to be, folk are just going to hand me stuff left, right and centre because I'm new and people will like me. Like, that's not what happened. So it was probably about 9 weeks after that. That's when I done my next deal, and then from there it went up for a month or so. And then it really fell off for 2 months in the summer because it obviously goes really hot in the summer. The market quiets down a little bit, not as much as it used to. And that was at the point, that's probably my lowest point since I started real estate, was that kind of summer period where I come from quite an honest background. People say they're going to do something in Scotland, they usually tend to do it. Here it's like there's so much choice, so there's so much convenience. If I tell you I don't want something today, I'll get it in 20 minutes. By the time I get back home, I can just order it for somewhere else, or I can go to another broker and get the same property. So there's
so many options there, and too many.
Right.
So basically what I'm hearing you say is, it's like somebody will say, they'll progress with that deal or buy that house, but then something else comes along, or another. They've got multiple agents that are feeding them stuff.
Yeah.
And then you think you're on a winner here, and then you'll maybe get a call to say, oh no, I've gone with this other guy, he's got me a better deal.
You'd be lucky to get a call back. That's the problem.
Right.
They just ignore you, and it's like, again, you can look inward and say I've not done the right service, but there is a sense of ignorance here where people will just completely ignore you. You could go, done it before, people have flown in, I'm like, right, I'll come and meet you, I'll come and show you a couple of communities. Don't do it that often anymore because it's just time wasting. You're doing a tour of Dubai with people who might not be serious. You go and spend 2 or 3 days with him, you're like, right, this guy's nailed in, he's exclusive with me. Just ignores you.
And you've put in that time.
You've drove him
That
around.
must be hard to take.
I
I would find that really hard to take.
Especially if you're just on commission and you're, like you say, you're starting money
I'd
starting
be
to run
like,
out.
you bastard, I'm fucking going to track you down. Can't you 3 days I've spent with you, taking you out for meals, showing you around.
And that's the thing, you drive through the neighbourhood 2 weeks later and you see him moving into a house. Do you know what I mean? And it's probably, sometimes it's even the ones that you showed them. So I don't know how much the other guests went into it. Like in a rental, there's no like affiliation with a broker. Legally, you can list a property for sale and rent with 3 brokers to get it
So
online.
wait a minute, so let's get our head around this, because we didn't really go into too much specifics, but this is what I want to focus on you a wee bit about, more specifics of the thing. And so basically, I'm an owner, right, of a property or a landlord, and I'm looking to let it out.
Yeah.
So I could go to 3 different agents.
They'll come to you.
They'll come. So how would they find me or approach me?
Probably, if Dubai Real Estate's watching, I shouldn't say this, there's a big data breach here.
Right.
So I will phone. See if you're an owner here, your phone is going 20 times a day because the market's so hot. There's 27,000
People
agents, give or take. First thing that you're told when you come to Dubai is here's a big book of data with all
Right.
the owners' numbers on it. Some
Right.
will be internal, some will be external. And here's a phone. Go and phone every single person and say, is it for rent or sale?
And how do those calls go? Just for people who are starting out, and again, considering this, do you have to, if you're not used to cold calling, I mean, effectively that's what it is, right?
It's banned here as well, so you can get reported for it as well.
Right. So, I mean, but it's still
Still happens.
and that's the way people are getting the business. You've got to get on the phones, right?
Exactly, and it's quite nervy for a lot of people. I think what you need to do is have a bit of an offer and be different from everyone else, because if you think about it, 27,000 people across all the communities in Dubai, people are probably getting at least 5-6 phone calls a day if you
And are
own
you
a
just
property
getting
here.
a lot of like people pissed off, just not another one, or just like putting the phone down, or like
You've got the same as any sales. You've got 3 seconds to pique their interest.
Well.
If you don't, see if you just phone and say, hi, it's Ian from XO Property, like they'll be like, see you later. I've no time for you today. If you phone and say something clever, as in to get their interest going, or your tonality's okay, which
what would give me a line that you might use?
I'm always
opinions
phoning.
spotted.
The most common one to get people's interest is I've got a buyer in hand.
Right.
You're phoning with a buyer with purpose. Now,
Even if you don't.
even if you
Just
don't,
say.
yeah. There's something that I've always been good at is kind of playing the long game. A lot of people come here and try and do it very, very fast because you can. Like, I've seen it, like even in the office, there's people at 21-year-old come over and their first deal's like 600,000 dirhams. You know, that's like 4 or 5 years salary for some people back in the UK.
Yeah.
They're not good at the job.
Would that just be luck?
Yeah, and you need to create the situation for yourself, but there's a huge element of luck, because you can just pick a phone up to a guy. He's just come out of a meeting. Everyone else who's phoned him, he's been in the meeting, and say, by the way, I've got a buyer for your 20 million dirham villa where you want to sell. Oh yeah, I do want to sell. I've moved out now. They've got a connection, deal done.
By the way, see, since we've been talking about that phone going off like 20 calls a day, my phone's been buzzing like fuck. I'm hoping this is not going out live or something like that. Everyone's like, that guy's looking to buy real estate. No, honestly,
As soon as you land in Dubai, your number gets leaked to
track
certain
you.
ideas. Leak it to the developers.
That's why they give you a free sim at the airport, and it all makes sense now.
Real estate companies, it's not phone companies. They're giving you that SIM card.
Right, so I'm an owner. I'm letting out a property. So we're talking about leasing agents now.
Yeah.
As you started yourself, so we've got loads of people contacting me, and again, how am I going? Like, I have no tie-in. I've no contract, do I? Like,
Yeah,
why
so-
would I pick the guy out? Say I've got five people. Why would I go with one over the other?
Again, that comes down to your pitch and your meeting. The most encouraging or the most important thing to do is get in front of people. I think as soon as I sit down with an owner and he's got something available, 9 times out of 10 I'll convert it to my listing. If you don't have a listing, you're not going to get clients. So the listings,
But what makes you get that over the other 4 or 5 people that are having meetings with them?
knowledge.
You're not offering more. You're not saying I can get you at a higher price.
No.
Would they go with that?
There's market prices. The market. You could come to me and say, I want 800,000 dirhams for my property. The last 5 that rented are at 300,000. I wouldn't entertain that, because you're just going to waste my time. It will make my skills look stupid, because you're putting something on the market that's 500k above market price. If you can bite back, what a lot of people do to win the listing is exactly what you said. Like, get worth 300,000, they'll be saying, right, I can get you 4, I can get you 4. That's how you start building up some listings. The market that we're in, over time, it will catch up to that point. because the market's so aggressive just now.
Right.
So if you do take something on above market price, there's a chance over time it's going to get there. Maybe not 100,000 dirhams difference on a rental property, but if it's for a sale property and you're asking me 200,000 dirhams more on the sale price, probably get there within 6 months.
And to see in the lease, if you're a investor here, you've got property rent out. I mean, how quickly can you? What's the kind of average time scale where you could get something let? I mean, is it quite quick, or is it months, or does it just depend?
Supply and demand here, there's a complete imbalance. I think I think that, I don't quote me on these figures, about 120,000 people moved here last year, and like 45,000 properties handed over. Yeah. So even put 2 of them into a property, there's a massive surplus there. Numbers might be wrong, but whatever.
Things are moving fast. That's what I'm saying.
Things
are
not enough
sat in the market.
There's just not enough.
Right.
If you price it well and you trust a broker that's going to educate you on the market. If you come to me and say, I want to list it above market price, probably it's going to sit vacant for a little while. But anything priced accordingly is selling or rent within 2 days. And
is there a specific, like, Steve invests up in Aberdeen, right? So he's got to do all his properties up quite high end because there's
the supply and demand's not the same as Dubai.
So you've got to have a decent quality of finish, decent quality furniture, the rest of it. You know, I'm in Glasgow, which is like, you know, we're still renting properties with magnolia walls and stuff like that. But, you know, how does stuff work here? Is it mainly furnished, unfurnished? What's the kind of...
It depends on areas. Like, you've got kind of you get short-term rent, which is probably more your marina. I think you guys are there just now. Marina places, downtown, a lot of apartment blocks. These will probably come furnished. Or you've got the longer-term stuff, which is families that a lot of people still say, I'm coming to Dubai for 2 years, which doesn't really happen. People come here and they stay here forever now. No. So usually if they're bringing a family, it's going to be villa, townhouses, communities are going to be unfurnished. So apartments furnished, villas, townhouses unfurnished. That's usually the balance. And like, you've got a full range of prices from... You could go from I know they've just announced 17,000 affordable homes are getting released from the Sheikh. What price point? In my opinion, they'll probably still be 250,000 British,
right?
And that's affordable housing.
That's Dubai.
That's Dubai. So I know we're talking about Lettinger now, but that's just to give you a perspective on the difference between entry levels. But that's probably going to be miles out in the desert.
Aye, that's no marina or a good prime location or anything like that.
So you can split Dubai. I split it into tiers. It's the easiest way to walk. So you've obviously got Palm, Marina, the Burj Al Arab. There's a big road that runs along that called Sheikh Zayed Road. So that's like your coastline tier. Anything from there to Al Khail Road, which is the next road back, is tier 1. Anything on the other side of that is tier 2, and then again tier 3. So that's your kind of 3 tiers. Prices usually follow those tiers.
What's the sort of, like, back in Scotland, right? We are very like tightly regulated. Like, see, as a landlord, if you're trying to evict a tenant for rent arrears or whatever, basically the tenant can shaft you, right?
Yeah.
No pay rent, and it takes like a year to basically evict them and all this. But in terms of that kind of dynamic here, in terms of what power you have as an investor or landlord, how does that work? Is it you know, if you have a bad tenant, can you...
Quite similar. Again, you need to serve a 12 months eviction notice if you want to get them out.
Is it?
There's caps on how much you can increase the rent as well, because we've still, in my area, which is a full villa community, we've still got people in there that are paying COVID rents, because you can only increase it a set portion every single time you want to increase the rent, which I believe is 20%.
All right.
So you need to do like a check on the area to see what the average prices are, which they're getting a lot better with the AI, so they can distinguish exactly what type it is and how, if it's been upgraded or not. Then they'll give you the actual price point that it should be at, which might means might be able to increase it at the higher end of that 20%. Whereas if you just do a rough average, there'll be 10 COVID rents and there'll also be 100 new rents. So the average will be brought down slightly, so you might not be able to increase it as much. But it is regulated. I know it's very... the tenants
do have rights.
They're very well protected here, because it's like...
But the property compliance, is that well...
What in terms of like maintenance contracts and all that kind of stuff?
Smoke alarms, all this.
You rent it as seen.
Right.
And a lot of owners don't even have a maintenance contract. The only kind of protection you've got is, so when you do a tenancy contract, or an ijari as they call it here, which is your registered tenancy contract, basically. You'll have a thing called an addendum that matches up to that. Within that addendum, your only protection is for apartments, any maintenance over 500 dirhams is the responsibility of the landlord. Anything below 500 dirhams is your responsibility. So for villas, that's 1,000 above and below.
All right.
But for that basically means light bulbs, switches, all of that stuff's yours. If a water heater busts, the landlord should repair it. There is bad landlords out here as much as there is anywhere in the world. But yeah, the tenants are well protected here, is what I would say. It is quite difficult to get a tenant out because you've got to go to the court. So it's not like back home, you're just going to chuck them out eventually at some point once it's been going on for so long. Dubai courts will just do it at their timeline.
So leasing, obviously, you're saying it was up and down, it was a struggle at the start. How long did it take you to get really kind of that momentum going and to kind of get that consistent income then? Because you were saying there was 600 grand here and then it kind of stopped for a while.
So again, the first deal that I done in 3 days, done that probably 6 or 7 weeks until I done the next one, which I can remember it was a 5-bedroom villa, which was 24,500 dirhams from one rental transaction. So that's what, 8 grand British. And then
so they paid that. They paid up front for the 6 months or something.
No, that was long term. Everything in my area is long term, so it's 12-month contracts.
Right. So that was 12 months. So you take the commission off that.
5%.
Split monthly.
How much do you get for the commission again?
Depends what structure you're on.
Right.
I don't want to disclose mine in case any of the staff's watching. No, it all depends. So, do you mean from the contract? 5%. 5% of the contract value. So that was, I think, 440 odd, something along that.
So 5% goes to the brokerage, the company.
And then you've got a split.
Then you get your split.
You've got a split in that, which could be anything from 50% up to 75%, depending on your structure. So I've done that. After that, again, it fell off. And this is, I think I mentioned to Stephen, I was applying to fit fire alarms in hotels because I had just had enough.
Right, yeah.
I was like, I've just...
you hit a bit of downer?
I'd hit the bottom. I was going... Because people will like, they'll give you
You're
an
quite
offer.
depressed about the whole thing at that point, you know, in terms of, like, you contemplating moving back?
I don't think it ever got to the point of moving back. I think the realisation was gas was always my backup, but they don't do domestic gas as much here. Everything's commercial, so I was trying to change my CV to suit commercial gas and all of this kind of stuff.
There's not many gas central heating boilers. Exactly. It's just all aircon units.
That's all we see. So I was kind of trying to change it to HVAC, all of that kind of stuff to make sure that I could apply to something, and then I was like, do you know what? It's like it's down to me. I still had money in the bank, which was
what
good.
What were you applying for then at that point?
Fitting fire alarms in hotels and sprinkler systems, which is something I'd never done before.
But in your mind, are you just like, I need something consistent here?
It does break you, and I think
was that going to be a salary job you were applying for?
That was to get out of the commission only role. So it does. I think you need that experience of pain, if you want to call it pain,
to push through it,
and it kind of gives you that spark. This is why I'm here. And that, again, as we spoke about when I had the entrepreneurial spark at some point, that was the spark where it's like now or never, and then from there it's just went wild. Like, it's just continually growing and growing and growing.
So you never got a job with the fire alarms?
I ditched it because I actually went home in the July.
This would be in July 2023.
So
3 or
23.
Aye.
And when I was at home, I'd done the biggest deal that I had done, and I was actually at home. So one of my colleagues had to go and sign the contracts.
Is this a sale or lease?
It was still leasing. Still leasing. So that was in July. So that was the biggest one that I had done.
What value was that?
Again, I think that was the other one was 24.5. I think this one was at 50,000 dirhams. I believe.
I'm getting the jargon now. That's 24 on the board.
On the board.
On the board, mate.
That's what we call it. On the board, sales board. So
these must be massive rental contracts then.
I think that one was, again, it was, but you can structure it in a way where you get fees back from the owner, depending on how good your pitch is and how confident and how locked in they are. I went and I won that rental contract exclusive. So even though I was going through that period of time where I didn't want the job, I had managed to take a villa to market exclusively with me. Now, exclusive on a rental doesn't really mean that much. All it meant was I could list it and I was the only one. If you were to phone the owner with an offer, he would probably have took your offer anyway, because you can do that. So managed to get that one rented, and then when I came back, obviously get paid on that, and I was like, this is it now. And from July, August, September, started transitioning into sales. Someone who I was working with that was doing sales in my area when initially I joined had left, so I was like, this is it. I'm just going to take all of the stock and continue to work on it from there. October, done my first sale.
When you say I'm taking all the stock, was it stuff that they'd been working on, or?
Not working on as such, but like when I'm working with someone and I'm only doing leasing, if I speak to an owner and it's for sale, I need to pass it up. As in, I need to refer it to the sales broker.
Okay.
So when I went back through everyone that I had spoke to and I had built the relationship with, a lot of it hadn't even been touched anyway. So I started working on it. I started getting in front of these sellers, started building relationships.
So at this point, are you building your contacts now?
Yeah.
And, right, okay.
I think the saying in Dubai is the first year you learn, the second year you earn. That's the kind of way that people structure it. Now, one thing that I had brought over from BLK in the UK was a mailing list. Everyone's so set on cold calling here, picking up the phone to owners, and I know it's still such a really good way in sales to get relationships. I had, from the day that I had started, been sending monthly market reports regarding prices, sale transactions, rent transaction, what's happening in the area, what's happening across Dubai, what opportunities we have, sending them out, and see about October, September time, I was getting people phoning me saying,
from the UK?
No. Just the structure. I mean, the system I had took from BLK because we were sending out.
Right, okay.
So I had got.
So you're sending your local database here,
Yes.
market updates.
In Jumeirah Park, which is the area that I work in.
Emailing regularly, how often?
Once a week.
Right.
With something different.
Okay.
Giving them updates, and then when we talk about the graphic design, my graphic design stood out rather than it just being a typed email talking about prices. So the way that I had built that, probably giving away all my secrets here, we had managed, we're now sitting about 2,700 owners on that mailing list.
Because
So
I think if you just pause there, I think a lot of people overlook email marketing now, don't they? Because everyone just sees it as, you got to be in social media, you got to be on Instagram, you got to be a YouTuber, and everyone's like, email's dead, but that works for you.
I think the theory that I teach the brokers in our office is it's easier to change your phone number than it is your email address. You think how many accounts you've got linked to your email address? Every single one almost.
I guess the thing about it is that how much shite do you get in your email box?
I mean, I just delete, yeah.
And that's what you're in there amongst, because if you get somebody's phone number and you get in their WhatsApp, then you've maybe got more chance of getting seen, are you?
A lot of them just archive it now here, though. So you think about it, you're living in a property, quite happy with the family, no intentions to sell, you're getting 4 a week, you'll archive them until you're ready. So when I then send you another one in a week's time or 2 weeks' time or a month's time, you're not even going to see it. Because it's archived. So until you reopen that, whereas with an email, it's trackable for me. I can actually see what my open rate is. So for me to sit and call 700 people, that would take me 3 months in terms of actually connecting to them.
You've got a tracker on your email that shows you
10 minutes I could have spoke to 700 people.
Right, okay. So email, there's still power to it.
Yeah.
And then on the sales side of stuff, by the way, I'm totally hogging the conversation.
No, go for it, man. Enjoying it.
He's not getting a chance to speak. That's the usual way it goes, man. So on the sales side of things, right? So you're an agent now. Are you acting for buyers and sellers?
Both. Yeah.
Right, okay.
I don't think there is some people that have got a network, whether you're well known in one country, like there's people from Iran who all the Iranians buy through them. Ukrainians, there's a lot of Ukrainians buy through the one person. Whereas we don't have that amount of millionaires in Scotland that would just buy through me, and there's obviously a lot of Scottish people here.
Buyer leads are easier to come by and sell leads, because the buyer leads are coming in through surely the portals and the ads of the listings and all that, isn't it?
Yeah, but you need to have, if you get one listing online, you're not going to get any buyer leads. So you need to have a portfolio of properties where you've engaged with the sellers and built up a good rapport with them to give you permission to list it. You've done your pitch, you've given them your offer.
See that permission to list their property? Do you have to sign something with them or not?
Digital form. So there's like 3 forms that you'll do. One's called a Form A, which is the agreement between the agent and the owner. It includes the listing price, the listing duration. Some people give you it for a month and say, right, you try and sell it. If not, I'll give it to someone else. Form B, which is the agreement between the buyer and the agent to say, right, I'm ready to buy this property. That will create a legally binding contract, which is the Form A and the Form B merged, creates an F. Don't know why it's not a C, it's an F that it creates.
Right, wait a minute, hold it there. So see if I sign that form with you to sell my property, can I sign another form with our agent?
No.
No.
The one to list it, you can list it with 3.
That's what I'm saying.
3.
So like the Dubai equivalent of Rightmove, whatever it is, what's it called?
Property Finder or Bayut, whatever way.
So like the same property could be on
3 times.
Right, that's
even more than that. And that's part of my pitch. I'm giving away all my secrets here. That's part of my pitch, and it's like you've changed the kitchen, you've changed the flooring. If it's a standard villa, which a lot of them are still here, you can get away with listing it with 3 because you as an end user scrolling through it doesn't look any different. Whereas if I put up a brand new Italian kitchen with a nice coffee machine and you see it there, you see it there, and you see it there, you think the motivation for the seller is a lot more aggressive than it actually is. So you might go in and inquire through all 3 and put in 3 different offers to see what offer you get.
Right.
So buyers do that, so they can play themselves off against each other and try and see who gets the best offer.
Different, isn't it? Because likes of Rightmove and Zoopla, they just wouldn't allow that because it would just clutter their portal. Do you know what I mean? So it's so different out here in that way.
And an example of that, something I was speaking to someone this morning about. We've sold 2 in the last week in the same street, and it was an owner who owned a 6 billion portfolio across Dubai. So he had 4, originally had 10, sold 6, he's got 4 left, villas that are about 7.6 million dirhams.
These have been rental properties, have they?
He's bought them for investment. Probably bought them at 2.5 million dirhams. Now we've just sold one for 7.5 and 7.6 last week.
How long? When did he buy them?
That would be, so they handed over 8 years ago.
Oh, that's some return, isn't it?
Honestly,
wow,
see when you look
shows
at
you the boom in prices.
When you look at the prices that what people bought for and what people are selling for now is wild. It's crazy. Even people who bought a year ago, sitting on a 30% return.
Do you think there's still legs in the market if you're to buy now?
Certain areas. I can only really speak for my area. I don't tend to look at Dubai as a whole. I think a lot of places are apartment heavy. You'll probably see the amount of construction as you come here. You can't replicate a villa community that's right next to the coastline anymore. You just can't do it. And if you do, you're going to be further out, or you're going to be much smaller. Same as back home, and the sandstones are much bigger than your brand new Persimmon homes.
That's an interesting point.
So
what you're saying is that prime real estate.
Yep.
It's now like that's taken. So that's like they've got to find other bits to develop now.
And that's why the flip model's becoming so apparent over here, because you're thinking a villa's 11 years old, it's massive, and you've got a massive garden similar to what we would be used to in the UK. So as Western people come over, and even other cultures come over, they want that space. You go a little bit further out, your garden's literally, you open the door and you hit your face off the wall. That's honestly the sizes that they're offering. So in my area, you're talking about 7,500 square feet plots, which means you can get an amazing swimming pool, really private location, it's green, you can extend, you can fully renovate, and that's why a lot of people are coming into these areas. They want to be close. Dubai traffic's horrendous as it is, so you can imagine if we're going to be treble the population by 2040, they are going to improve the roads, but are they going to improve it 300%? It's going to be difficult because you can only make a road a certain amount of width. So that's what's going to be interesting, and that's why I think prime locations.
It's still relatively, although like we come into Dubai, right, come from Glasgow, and you go, wow, skyscrapers, it looks massive and all that, but in terms of like city size of like throughout the world, it's actually still quite a small population. 3.5 million, no, maybe 3.8 million.
I think it's about that now.
Aye, so if you look at London, for example, I think 17 million.
Yeah.
London.
Yeah.
So that's again, you're looking at that and go, well, yes, potentially, you've still got loads of room for growth in terms of. Once they start attracting the likes of the big financial services and stuff like that, and big businesses coming up and setting up here. I know there's a lot of big business already, but if it becomes that kind of
global hub,
I think
trading hub,
the one thing that's put that off is they were on the grey list when all the Russians and Ukrainians came here because there was a lot of dodgy money flying about. So they've really tightened up on a thing called a KYC. So any money we take as a brokerage, you need to do a thing called a KYC, which is a know your client, and that needs to know where the proof of funds has come for. And what we're led to believe is because JP Morgan and all that are on the cusp of coming to join us in Dubai. So if they go back on that grey list, these financial institutions won't come to Dubai to set up. So that's why they're really trying to tighten up on it now, and everything's a lot more. There's still ways around everything. There's still developers that take full cash payments, which is crazy. You could pay off a 4 million dirham apartment in cash. So,
and there are no really any questions, like not much.
They find a way around it. Not us. We do our KYCs obviously and make sure that everything's above board, but they do whatever they want to do. But I just still think
that's
it's
just why
crazy.
there was talk a lot of Russians coming here because basically everyone was sanctioned. Everywhere else,
we welcomed them, or Dubai welcomed them.
Aye, and that's basically where they're putting their money in.
And it is, you'll notice it as you walk about. It's such a Ukrainian, I think the Ukrainian, Russian sort of lingo that you'll hear, especially down places like the marina. They want to be right in the midst of it. They want to be right at the coastline.
Breakfast this morning, mate. Rude as fuck. Opened the door for them. They didn't even say thank you.
That's common here. That's common here. I think that's just part of culture.
But it's a big melting pot, isn't it? Like there's just so many different cultures and countries, and
that's the thing that I love the most about it. Again, I'm having this conversation with someone back home. It's like, in my day-to-day, say I've got 5 viewings, I'm probably meeting 5 CEOs or managing directors or company directors. Like, I'm meeting them. How long would it take you back home to try and get on the phone to CEOs to sit down in front of them and have a conversation? I'm spending half an hour to an hour with these guys every single day, and like you have these out of body experiences when you're getting contracts signed and you've got one multi-billionaire and one millionaire sitting talking. I'm just sitting there looking like, what is going on here? Like, and
you're into your football. Do you ever listen to the podcast Open Goal?
Yeah.
Right. So they do this thing called pet peeves, right? So when you're out doing like viewings and stuff like that, have you got any pet peeves where people do stuff that really annoys you?
I don't know. I've got a pet peeve, and it's when you're in a restaurant and there's flies flying around your food. I was thinking about this the other day. It does my head, and it puts me off the food. They open the door. You get it in Dubai here, obviously, because everything's open in terms of you're sitting at the front or you're sitting over the golf course or whatever it is eating your dinner. But a fly flying about will ruin my full dinner. That is a massive pet peeve for me. But
I was just thinking about it in the real estate space more. So I mean, like you're talking about, there's no loyalty there.
Nah.
You know, people pulling deals, people gazumping each other. What about in the actual agent space? You know, it seems quite competitive.
Quite cutthroat, yeah.
So cutthroatness, like, is there tactics that go on?
Aye, like again, I've through my marketing and my email list, I've got quite a decent personal brand in terms of my area, so I get a lot of exclusive listings. Now, what you would expect to happen is the agents would phone you with their buyers. They just go straight to the owner. Owner sends me their number, a phone. Have you got a buyer? No, I don't have a buyer. So it's like they're just trying to get around you to try and break that down. If you're not doing viewings, they're kidding on that they've got 10 viewings lined up for it. They don't have any viewings, so you get a lot of that. Look, I work with all the best of the agents in my area, and I'm happy to work with agents on anything. Like from coming from a decent wage, working with Scottish Gas. So even if you do a split deal with someone on a sale, you're making the guts of your salary before tax on one transaction. So I'm kind of still in that mindset that it's like,
you can share it.
Why are you going to bin £35,000?
What was the big transition then between going from the leasing and the rental into the sales? Was that a huge leap forward in income?
An income, but 100%. It changes. It's life changing. I know that sounds quite cliche, but it is very much life changing. In terms of actual day to day work, you're still picking up the phone, you're still sending the emails, you're still posting on social media.
What was your best month in terms of when you were doing the sales?
The sales, about 400,000 dirhams last month.
What would that work? We're going to get my currency calculator.
That's about 100 grand British.
100 grand in 1 month.
Yeah.
And how many deals would that have been over?
That was 3.
And is that your cut?
Yeah.
It's good, yeah.
Shit, man.
I've not been paid on them yet, so hopefully they transfer.
So we've only got 5 minutes left.
Worries.
Really, well, actually we don't, but don't want to take up too much of your time.
Just run into 5 o'clock.
I'll just take another hour. Mate. You're off for the rest of the day.
Fine.
A day off.
And that's because I feel like we're just getting into really good stuff now as well. So, like, in terms of you and XO now, what has your role become now? So you still a sales agent then, doing deals?
I'm director now. Yeah, so they made me
what
up to
does that
director.
mean,
so I kind of went through from, I've done a kind of mini series on it for the company Instagram recently. So I went from rental broker to sales broker. From there, moved up to team leader. So I was managing a team of, it started I think about 12, 14. Obviously you get an allocation of what they bill in terms of if they do a really good month, you'll get a percentage of it because you've helped them get to that stage. And then from there, we went through a bit of a restructure towards the end of last year in terms of the management structure, and they asked me if I wanted to come on board and be a lot more involved and be a part of the company really. So they gave me the director role, so pretty much involved with everything now.
So you could be getting a salary as well, no?
A small one, yeah, just now. But it's more kind of for the longer term in terms of the company.
Becoming it more of the vision, driving it forward.
Partner within the company.
Right, okay, so they want to see you as part of the force driving it.
And we're on the cut. We've got 45 brokers now. I know you had someone in with 400 odds, so we're a bit more of a boutique company. But kind of everyone pulling in the same direction. Everyone's on the floor together, so it's a really kind of close knit.
And are they different nationalities, the brokers?
There's a few, mostly British. I think most real estate agents that we would deal with and now are from the British field.
I saw there's quite a lot of, is there not quite a lot of Indian real estate?
You've probably seen the TikTok videos and stuff like
they're
that.
Good. They're very good at the social media
good at
stuff.
Sales, but they'll attach themselves to a buyer, and what we spoke about driving around Dubai, going for it, they'll work like dogs almost to make sure that they get that done. Some of us are a bit like, fuck that, like, we're gonna just focus on what matters, and let fair play to them, and that's the thing. A lot of people come to Dubai and think every single person is absolutely minted rich. When you look at it, if you were to order something to the hotel tonight on a delivery, what these guys are making, and they're having a great life. what other people, the CEOs, the directors, what these guys are making is life changing. Do you know what I mean? So you've got,
and for everyone that, like, you're talking about your best month there and all the rest of it, you know, we'd need to, let's just be realistic again. And the reality is there is a lot of people that struggle, and we talked about it in the other podcast, that might be for a multiple reasons, that it's maybe just not for them. They just can't pick up the phone. They're maybe not good with people. They maybe just get distracted, or they're going out partying, or they're just not they've not got a good work ethic. Because let's face it, man, like, you're a little bit, you know, you're past your 20s now, right? So
gonna say older there,
no, but you're not like the young 20-year-olds that are coming out. But I see it from, I'm scared actually, my kids coming up, because, like, I see a lot of young people now, and they're lazy bastards, basically. Do you know what I mean?
I think I say this to everyone: if I'd have came at 21 to 22, 23, I wouldn't have survived here. I'd have been out every night. I'd have been home after, similar to the Navy. I'd probably have lasted a day, and then I'd have been away back up the road. But
ran out of money.
Because, like, as you see it all the time, even in our office, where we don't take on a lot of new starts.
So your best advice then, the new people coming out?
I would wait. Gain some life experience. I don't mean I'm like Christopher Columbus, I've travelled the world. I mean, like, I've known how to speak to people, known how to manage people.
Yeah.
And make sure you're set up for at least 6 months, because you will go through that period where you do a deal, this is going to be easy.
In terms of financially, you've got a bit of savings behind you.
25, I would say.
Yeah, a bit of back in
25 at least per person. So if you're coming in at 2, I would say at least 50.
Right.
And that might sound
That'll
excessive. People in recruitment companies out there on LinkedIn and that are saying come with 5-6 grand. Like, there's no chance. Like, and let's see if you want to come and not live in Dubai, live in like a partition agreement, a partition wall room, not go out, and we don't do brunches all that much. But I'm just saying, if you want to come and not live like you're in Dubai, it can work. You can work in the office till 11 at night because you hate going home. But what I would say is just make sure you're set up so that you can enjoy it at the same time, because all you're doing is similar story to Kyle going over to Germany. Like that's what it's like. You're just doing something similar, hating where you live, hating the people that you're spending the time with. So,
and you know, you've got that team around you in the office, and you're seeing, right, okay, you're seeing the ones that are doing well, you're seeing the ones that are kind of average. You know, what do you need to be hitting really to kind of have a good quality lifestyle? Not like amazing driving about in Lamborghinis and all the rest of it, but what really realistically do you want to be kind of hitting?
I think first year I'd done 440,000 dirhams on the board, so I would have took home just about half of that.
Yeah,
which is what 45,000 British, tax free.
And would that have been about what you were earning back home, or would that
50,
more?
50 before tax I was back home. So take home what,
and
32?
then you're talking tax, and then your pension and your national insurance and all the rest of it, so you'd be left with, like you say,
25, 26, whatever it works out to. I think when you look at it, if you go and make £60,000 in a year here, that's the equivalent to what, 110,000 a year back home.
You're keeping
and anyone back home, you're saying, I know
that's a good way to look at it.
It's more expensive here, obviously, to live, but when you speak to people that are on 110,000 back home, you're a bit like, wow,
doctors, lawyers, you know, like,
exactly. They're well respected within whatever field they do. Like, not just a 30-year-old boy that's going and selling properties. So I would say probably to have a really good life. Like, we had a great time the first year. Obviously, we still had some money left from when we came over. But that's what I'd probably say. About 400,000 would be. Like, see if money's not your motivation. See if you just want to come here and live a good life and be in the sun and turn up to your work, do a bit here, do a bit there, get a few holidays under your belt. 400, 500,000 would be more than enough.
Do you think we've got any potential
100%.
to be top agents?
100%. I'm not heard him speak yet, so I'm not sure.
We're too old.
It was so, like, I mean, I just think, like, what I see on social media is all the young folk. Do you know what I mean? But there must be older ones out there doing good as well.
There's people
the old
people that have been here
big up the old
10 years. No, I honestly think there's opportunity. All you need to do is, which you guys can obviously do, is speak to people. See if you can have a decent conversation and work out what you're offering. See if you're picking up the phone as a young silly boy and the guy's telling you fuck off and you think that's hilarious. Like, you're not going to work. See if you respect the person. Say, look, be apologetic, sorry for disturbing you, whatever it is. Ensure that you respect the people and deal with it in a way that you would like to be handled. When you're dealing with people and offering and all of this stuff, you're not playing the game too much. If you're completely transparent with people and open and honest, and you know how to hold a conversation, I think it's easy here. Easy is probably the wrong word. Sorry, I think it's doable here.
Yeah. What do you love? What do you love about the place in general?
I honestly think it's the best place in the world. I know that sounds cliche. It's got absolutely everything that you want. Like, even the likes of the day, we had balcony furniture coming. The guy phoned me. I just told him to go in the property, put it on the balcony.
And
there's
people
no
are
trust.
not moaning. So if that happened back home, the guy would be like that. No, I can't hang about, mate. No, they can't get in. No, you'll need to phone the company to rearrange a delivery
3
and all
weeks'
this. And it's just constant, like, I mean, they call me negative Nick, right? Because sometimes I can come across in the podcast as quite negative, right? I'm moaning and shit like that. But maybe I need a bit of dose, a good dose of Dubai.
Just convenience. Like, everything's there for you. Like, you can imagine if you're going out for a meal, it's not one person that's serving you because 2 people have phoned in sick. There's 40 people there waiting hand and foot for you to give you whatever you want. When you go home, you act like a bit of an arse because you're like expecting the same standards. Like, if your Greg sausage roll's not out in 2 minutes, you're raging because it's not hurried up. Do you know what I mean? Whereas here, like, everything's done so quickly. And I think the best thing for me is like the government, the owner of Dubai, they set the rules. So you either follow the rules and you don't get caught doing what you're doing, they're completely fine with it. See, if you step out of line, they hammer you. And they've got that trust. It's a responsible place to be. So they let you go and behave like adults. If you don't want to behave like adults, then you'll get the repercussions of
and
that.
on the flip side, anything you miss about Scotland?
Nah, just the family. I go home once a year, so I like going home for Christmas. My missus' mum's Christmas dinner's unbelievable, so go back for that. But yeah, just family.
Did they come and visit?
Sausage?
Somebody's the eldest's dad. My missus' dad's coming out next week. But usually 3 or 4 visitors a year. You know what I mean? It's an easy holiday for people, and it's like the world's so small now, innit? It's not. It's 7 hours door to door. So in terms of flight time. So I think I don't miss too much, but I do enjoy going home. That's kind of where we're at.
Listen, it's been a great insight.
Worries.
I really appreciate you going into specifics there as well. You know, like some numbers as well, so we can get a good tagline.
Good details,
So no, I was and realistic as well, because I think a lot of people get caught up in the hype as well. And you're saying, you know, it is hard. It can be hard, but equally it can be rewarding as
100%,
well. And you know, you set up. Congratulations! You've set up. Looks like you've got a great thing going here.
Appreciate that.
You've got the kids as well now?
No, not
You've
yet.
not got kids?
No, just
I
me
thought you
and my
did.
missus.
For some reason I thought you had kids.
Because I'm looking old, didn't I? You said that
It's just all that work you're doing. So where can people reach out to you, by the way? Because we always tag in the show notes. So where do you want people to contact
it's
you?
at Jumeirah Park _ I've tagged you guys in a story, so you'll get the tag from that. My personal page is private, so I don't put too much through that. It's just for family, but it's good to watch on the journey. We do a lot of documenting like renovation projects, so it's good for people. A lot of your followers are involved in flips and assisted sales, so it's interesting for them to see.
You're going to be able to get us out at something?
100%. Monday. I've got a few things lined up. It'd be good to get you out and see what some of the properties look like from your perspective, and we can do that definitely.
Fantastic.
Brilliant, Ian. Cheers for that.
Thanks,
Perfect,
Ian.
guys.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Cheers.
Right, mate. You follow